feel today? Ask yourself this question.
What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Let's go! We ready! We ready! We ready! We ready! And let's go to the house! And let's go to the house!
When I step on the field, I send one message. And this is what it feels like. This is what it feels like.
Football is getting hit. That's it.
It's gonna be football now. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Let's hunt now. Let's hunt now. Let's go. Let's hunt. We ready? And let's go to the house. And let's go to the house.
We're talking about the Jets like we're talking about the Saints. You know, all this, how we the Miami Heat of football. Yap. The bottom line is you got to buckle up your chin strap. It's embarrassing. Yap. Don't disrespect the game like that. There's too much crying from them. He's a man. They can be hit just like us. He's a man. You ought to make the big money. He's a man. Don't cry when you step on the field, man. That's war out there. When I step on the field, I send one message. This is what it feels like.
Oh, my bad. Your bad don't work in my world.
What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. We ready? And let's go to the house. And let's go to the house. It's a wrap. Game over.
Hey everyone, this is Johnnie Football Code with the HBCU Stroll. I want to thank everyone for putting the time in last week to give me an opportunity to introduce you to my family, which, I adore. I think I'm fortunate to have 8 brothers that are still alive and still in great health. And, I contribute a lot to them, to the success I've had. And like I said last week, before I get this show rolling to the young people, hey, just listen to your parents, or listen to your older brother, or listen to somebody that you adore or mentor, and just follow the yellow brick road. There's nothing new under the sun. But I'm excited about today. I had to go all the way back to Dayton, Ohio, find one of my homies, which I adore. And back in the day, he was a little older than I was, and kind of looked up to him because he's about 6'7" in high school. And the thing that I like about him is very articulate, and a smart fellow, and was able to go on to UCLA. I want to bring my guest on, my homie, Irv.
JC, how you doing, Coach?
Man, I'm doing great, Coach. How you doing? I can call you Coach now.
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Man, we got to go back to Dayton just a minute. Just go back to Dayton, Ohio.
Now you aging me, man.
After 10 years of playing in the NFL, in the USFL or 12, and then coaching on the pro level, I know that's a long way back, but I'm gonna bring you back. Irv, you was the biggest guy in the city, man.
Well, what's funny, though, is that at that time, I guess I was, and now me trying to play that position at the size I was in, I guess probably when I came out of high school, I was still, right around 270. They would laugh at me trying to play offensive line at 270 now. These guys are so big now. It's ridiculous. But yeah, at that time it was, but man, it's different now. They look at a guy anybody under 300 now. They're like, you got to be kidding, right? Come back when you're up. But
the thing about you, Irv, that I can remember, you enjoyed the game. You was like a big, rough. Let me get that straight, teddy bear. I can remember you tackling me a couple times.
Yeah.
You was having a good time.
No, I believe in having fun. I mean, I always, even all the way up through my whole pro career, I always promised myself that at the point where I felt like it was drudgery and that I would be done. And that day did come, but it
Yeah.
came much further in life. I mean, I felt like that football is a great game, but it's a game that requires too much not to enjoy. And so I felt like when I got to the point where it was hard for me to go out there and just drudgery, that I would quit. And I found that day one day in San Antonio. It was about 9 o'clock in the morning. It was almost 90 degrees already. And I was like, That's it. That's it. I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back out this. But I did know that once things like that started to affect me, that it was time to let it go, because it was.
Well, as you can see, I'm outside because I'm an outdoors guy.
Right.
And we both was raised up in Ohio in the cold.
Right.
And believe me, I do not want to go back. I can remember walking to school when the snow get down into your boots and form little golf balls and rub on your Achilles. Man, I hated that. And then when you got home, and if you forgot your key, then now you stuck.
Now I used to go all the way down my street.
I'll ever want to go back.
Yeah.
At least to live in a cold weather place.
I used to walk all the way down my street in wintertime. I lived with my uncle, and he finally bought a snowblower. And that was my little hustle money, because I do every driveway for $10. I used to do it by shovel, and when he finally bought a snowblower, I was like, oh man, I was like, because that was my little hustle. That's the only way I could gas money and everything. And so I'd go down and try to do as many driveways as I could, and in the summertime, do every car could wash. But you know how it is, Jay. You had to hustle, man.
Well, we gonna move the notch. You go to UCLA. That's one of the things I adore about you. You are articulate. You were a scholar. You just wasn't an athlete. You actually got an opportunity to leave Ohio and jump way to the West Coast for the Bruins, UCLA.
Right. Well, high schoolers, I had a lot of choices. I guess I could have gone pretty much where I wanted to go. But UCLA, ironically, even as a little kid, when I used to see them on TV, I felt like, man, I'd always like to go. I don't know why. At that time, it wasn't rational thought. But when I went out there, and I know my boy Larry Lee from Dayton, and Big Mook, and he was already out there balling, and he was my host when I went out there. And Mook's a hard guy to say no to anyway. And by the time he got done with me that weekend, like, Irv, I need you, man. You got to come out here, man. We be homeboys. We live together. It was over. It was like by the time my recruiting trip was, I left there, it was pretty much over.
Well, I have.
Lost him.
I gotta ask you. Can you hear me?
I got you.
I gotta ask you. Did you go visit any HBCU schools? Because it's only one up there at Central State.
Right. You know what? And Central State was the bomb when I was in Dayton, because that's when Dayton had it going on. I mean, that's when it had about 3 times the population it has now. Yeah. It had, the Ohio players and
Lakeside.
And General Motors was still there, and Delco and all that. And, we had a ton of schools that had great athletes, in the city. So I did not go there probably as just what you'll find interesting. At that time, you could visit 6 schools. I only took 4 visits. That's how sure I was about UCLA for me.
Right.
Like I said, they didn't have to get me; they had to lose me, because basically, I already had in my mind that I wanted to go there. So I did not go there. Looking at it now, looking at what I know about HBCUs, and I think I told you on the phone last night, my daughter graduated from Howard.
Right.
It was the best move that she ever could have made. I was so proud of her. I'm so impressed with the Howard alumni and other HBC schools and what they've been doing on the field and in the classroom, and just look at the Hall of Fame list, Johnny. And look at all the great. I always tell people that when they talk about HBC being lesser, it's okay. Look at the Hall of Fame list and look at where some of these guys came from.
Yeah, we're actually in the top 5 in Hall of Famers at conferences wise with any conference in the country. I got to ask you, because I always ask my brother. He went to University of Nebraska. How many times do you go out to UCLA for homecoming or? I know. I already know the answer. It's close to 0.
I tell you, it's a little more than 0. It's 1. And I'll say this, and I tell my wife this all the time. They do a poor job maintaining a network of former players. They don't do a good job with that. Like, to me, anytime I hear from them, they're asking for something, or can you send it, but they never remember, you helped build that stuff. And just, I'm not talking about falling all over me. I'm talking, hey, here's a T-shirt. Here's I took my son a few years ago and they played Texas up at Jerry's World.
Right.
And I just wanted to take him on the field.
Right.
We can get you on or him on. We can't get both of you guys. I'm like, what? And I didn't want to have that the whole game. I just wanted to take him on the field during warmups. So I ended up letting him go by himself. And I'm just like, they don't do a good job with that, man.
Right.
You're right. They don't.
Right. Mm-mm. Well, that's what I mess with you PWI guys about. Hey, Irv, it's been 30 years since I graduated. If I go back on campus today, which I will go back Wednesday because both of my children go to school there, my second oldest and my oldest son, and I still know people on campus. I tickle with LC all the time. I said, yeah, for about 5 years, you was the big man, on TV in the Orange Bowl. I said, but now, I've been the big man,
You're
I can go back now. And the thing about it, Irv, is that I just didn't only go to school with football players. And I know you got out and when you was at UCLA, but you go to school with pharmacists, lawyers, doctors, that's a daily, you in different social clubs with these people, even though you're on the football team. And a lot of these kids that's coming out don't understand the magnitude of how important that is, especially when you start getting our age. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I spoke to you yesterday when we were just talking, and I told you, and I challenged you to tell me, and I had to say the same thing, to tell me one job you've gotten that somebody didn't have to pick up the phone and vouch for you, right?
Right.
And that's
a resume in our business really don't mean
nothing.
No more.
Give it to the secretary. She'll do whatever with it. But the bottom line is, if you can't get to the guy who has the job, meaning, because you probably don't know him, right? Because if you did, you probably already had a job. So you better know somebody that knows him and can cut through all that red tape for you. And you can call them on their cell phone and have them say, hey, coach, heard you had a position, whatever. And if you can't do that, forget it. And that's all about networking and people. And that's not a text message. That's not an email. That's looking people in the eye and saying, you know what, you can represent, you can vouch for me because you know I'm real and you know what I represent.
Right.
And I think kids lose that now.
Yeah, let's hold that thought because we're gonna get into that too. Now I'm going to move you to the pro ranks. All right, you came out, you went for the money in the USFL. It was good money, which was great. You won 2 championships. I'm all over you. You won 2 championships there, 3 years. Right. You made all USFL, and then that crashed, and then you end up joining the NFL. Of course, you bounced around, but one of the teams I want to talk about was Kansas City Chiefs, which was my childhood team back in '63 when they won with Lynn Dawson and Ed Polak and Coach Hamstram. Yeah, I know them all. Willie Lanier,
Taylor,
Buck Buchanan, Otis Taylor. In my name,
all of them, yeah.
But anyway, I just wanted to send a shout out to Tracy Simeon. Told me to tell you hello, Lenny Griffin, who I actually faced at Grambling State. J.C. Pearson, great friend, of mine. So I know a couple. Martin Bayless, of course, our home. Did you play on the team when he was there too?
No, but we played against each other in Dayton, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So you went on. And then you became a coach. and evidently you done a good job. You was at the Raiders in Green Bay, right?
Well, I started out with Ray Rose in Green Bay. Then I went to Pittsburgh for a year. Spent 5 years with Dick Vermeil in Kansas City, and then went to the Raiders after that.
And now,
go ahead.
I know what kind of man you are. And you got all the credentials. You got the high school All-American. You got the UCLA. You got the Pro Bowl, and you became a coach, but you black. And I see these guys getting jobs, and usually I talk about college a little bit, and that's why I kind of change up and brought, you've been on that level, you've been in the room, and it's hard for you to, not hard, but I guess, you just kind of lost interest, or it's tough for you to find another job. But then when I see all these younger, whiter guys are getting jobs, some of them ain't even coached college before. Some
Right.
of them come straight from high school to the NFL, and of course they're trying to address it now. But how does that make you feel? You've done it.
Right. Well, John, it's funny. I've never, I've never had a problem with hard work. I mean, when I got done playing football, the thing I heard most was, "Oh man, coaching's hard work, long hours, blah blah blah." I said, I would just tell people, look, I'm not saying I know how to coach, or all the ins and outs of coaching, but you're not going to talk to me about work ethic, right? Like, you're not going to talk to me about not being able to work hard. Now, I got a lot to learn as a coach, but and that's kind of something to throw at you, and then you would eventually see that it really isn't about work ethic as much or knowledge of football or whatever. You wanted to be, because I always felt confident if it was about that I could compete for any job. It's about my work ethic and my ability to obtain knowledge, retain knowledge, and learn and grow. I wasn't worried about that. But what you see is, okay, he's a coordinator. Dude, he's 30 years old. How did he get this job? Oh yeah, his dad played for so and so, or his dad went to college with the owner, or so on and so forth. And like you said, these guys are always young white guys, or inexperienced white guys, and nobody says anything. All of a sudden, he's a prodigy, and I'm not calling names. The list goes on forever.
Right.
But he's a prodigy. Oh, this guy's the youngest head coach ever. And
right.
And,
He was thrust into the position.
Right.
And when you coaching great athletes, one thing about a coach, when you coach a guy that got it all, the best thing to do is stay out of his way. Make sure he don't meetings on time. Make sure he do team stuff. And then you can tell him something one time and he'll catch on and move.
Right. And there's with a lot of black coaches, even if you do get an opportunity as say if it's a head coach or a coordinator or whatever, it's generally a less than optimum situation. So you get a head coaching job, and they've been 2-10 for the last 3 years, right?
Right.
Your chain doesn't get any longer, because you expect, okay, I know we've been 2-10 for 3 years in a row, but we better be a playoff team next year, Johnny.
Right. You don't have a chance to develop and get your system your system in. Right. Any coach, I think in year 3, you should be about 500. You know what I mean? And then year 4, you should be ready to go over the top.
Right. And then once you and basically from what I've seen as a pattern with some coaches I've coached, on their staffs and all that, once you fail, I say fail, you don't succeed to the level of their expectation as a black head coach. A lot of time you're not seen or heard from again in that position. I mean, I've seen, and I'm not gonna call his name, but I worked for a black head coach who went from head coach to assistant secondary. All right. Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
With nothing in between.
Well, let me say this. And I'm great change. Let's forget about them for a minute. We do that. In 2020, there was 14 African-American head coaches in college football.
Mm-hmm.
And only one staff had 6 assistants that were black. Then the next staff had 4. Then it was down to 3, and then the rest 2. Out of those 14 coaches, we had 1.5 coordinators, meaning the half was a co-coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one was a defense coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Jesus, if we don't help ourselves, but it's going to take a collaborant, not just black. It could take white as well. I mean, that's how we were free from slave. It took America to free us. And I'm not saying, and we're not sitting up here saying about racism. We're talking about just let's recognize unfairness.
Right.
And let's try to do something about it. Let's bring awareness to what's going on.
Right.
I guarantee you this, if them top 5 kids out of high school, those Power 5, as they say, because I don't believe in all them numbers. I believe in you got to evaluate a kid and determine yourself if he fits. If they all start going back to HBCU schools, you will see a big change.
Absolutely. Well, you know, like we talked about yesterday, John, on the phone, I think it's not only in some cases, it is overt. Okay, a lot of cases, it's unconscious. It's well, this is the way it's always been done. I mean, let's face it. If you are a university president, which is most likely a 60, 70-year-old white guy, right? Who do you go to school with? Who do you know? Who do you socialize with? Who do you live next to? It's probably not anybody that looks like you and me, right? So when you say I need to fill this position, where do you look? You look among the people you know that you're comfortable with, that you trust. Now, you can get in a whole lot of different layers about that, but I'm just saying that it's a very complex issue that has to be consciously rectified, or never, like you said, it'll never be changed. It's not going to fix itself.
Right. Well, here's a question, and you're right. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. And here's a question I always ask. You know, Irv, you in the room, you've been in the room with them, you sit around the table. Of course, you know, if you got 10 coaches in there or 20 coaches, you see maybe 2 or 3 of you, and a position opens up. You know, are you even conscious or feel comfortable enough to say, hey, you know, head coach, look, hey man, we need some diversity in the room. You know, and I know it's tough. You sitting there, you looking at your wife, you know, you got this beautiful home, you sending your daughter to Howard, you know, you got bills to pay, you know, how do you feel? I know I can stand on the outside and be like, come on, Irv, you got to go in there and say, man, you need some black coaches in here.
If I'm a coordinator, I can say that because I've got that access, right?
Right.
If I'm just a position coach, probably not. Not so much out of fear of my own position, but it's just like it's too many layers. You know, I've got a coordinator between me, and I got to hit. Say, oh, coach, can I talk to you a minute? Hey, we need to diversify our staff.
Okay.
You know, and most of the time you're look like, what? I hire who I want to. You know, once you go draw up some cards or whatever. Particularly with the I guess the youth of a lot of the head coaches now,
right?
They're asking you like, well, dude, what are you talking about? Right. I don't hire people based on that. I hire people. You know what I'm saying? And we all know it.
I want you to share. Yeah, I want you to share your experience in Green Bay when y'all did have.
Right.
Share that with my audience.
I talked to you yesterday. I might be missing somebody. I think we had like at least 8 black coaches and a black head coach, right?
It was your first year.
Right. And which was, I don't think it's been duplicated since or before, you know.
Maybe this past Tampa Bay staff, I don't know.
Okay, maybe so. But this was 1999. So that was in football terms, that was eons ago, right? So we had a lot of black coaches, a lot of good black coaches. I'm talking about Emmett Thomas, Hall of Famer.
Wow.
Sherm Lewis, coach forever.
Right.
Ray Rhodes, the head coach. He played pro football, coach a year in Philly, all that. Bunch of other good guys, former player, Lionel Washington, Johnnie Holland, Harry Sidney. I mean, myself, we had a bunch of good players, coaches. I mean, but from the day we got there, you could, this is Green Bay, Wisconsin. So, you hear all these reasons, like you lose the game. Oh, I saw the head coach in the casino. Okay. All I know is Ray was there when everybody got there. He was there when everybody left. I don't know when he got after he left, but I know he put his work in.
Right.
And
y'all won.
And he was a good football coach. So at the end of the year, we're 8-8, right? First year, and you don't get nobody worried about anything. You're 8-8 the first year, you're not worried about anything, right? Well, that's what they told us. 2 weeks later, everybody's fired.
Wow.
And I'll never, no one ever can convince me that race did not play a part in that.
Right.
8-8? Come on, John. You don't get fired your first year, you go 500. You just don't.
Well, I got fired after winning the championship on the black college level. So
Well,
But I got you though. No, I understand what you're
but it
saying.
wasn't your first year though, right?
No, it was the
But
third.
it's still crazy.
Yeah.
It's still crazy.
Yeah.
We talking about that. It's still crazy. But you know what I'm saying? Like in the National Football League, you don't get fired for 8-8 for 8-8 in your first season. Now, if you were 12-6 or 12-4 the year before, and you fall to 8-8, maybe, right?
Right.
But not your first year. And
Yeah.
so we got.
And let me say this to the audience, and what you've gave me a perspective of. Here I am the black coach in an all white staff. I've been through what you just been through. I'm just putting myself in your shoes. Man, that puts something here.
Well,
And
I was. Well, you know, I was saying. I told my wife when I said, "Well, I got my cherry popped on." I wasn't. You know, I came in. The general manager came in. He looked us all in the eye and said, "Listen, I know you guys been hearing this crazy stuff in the media about nobody's going anywhere." He said, "I overestimated how good we should have been this year, and we are about an 8-8 team. Nobody's going anywhere. Just go and get ready for next year." Well, less than a week later.
wow, who was your quarterback?
The quarterback was Brett Favre.
Brett Favre.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was just it woke me up because like I was I guess being my first year, I was a little overly optimistic about the way the coaching thing. Well, like, hey, that's pretty good,
Well, Irv, you said that happened in what, 98, 99?
99.
Yeah. Well, maybe some of those coaches that coached in 2020 in college kind of heard about that. For some reason, and I guess we could speculate the reasons that when our black coaches do get those head jobs, even on the black college level, the first thing they do is go hire a white guy as a coordinator.
Well,
especially as an offensive coordinator.
Right.
Well, and I just, that just blows my mind, especially at HBCU schools.
Right. And then of course, and I might as well stick this in there. You have a lot of people say, "Well, just pick the best coach." Well, that's never been the way it was, right?
No.
That's never been.
That's when it comes to a black guy. I'll get the white guy.
Right. Why are you looking at race? Just pick the best coach. Well, it's never been that way. I remember I heard Vic Fangio when he got the job at, and I know Vic from way back when I was with the Stars, and when he got the job at Denver, and he said, the NFL is a meritocracy. I almost threw up. I was drinking something when he said that, and I almost threw up what I was drinking. A meritocracy? Is he kidding? In other words, basically, you get your advancement based on what you do. Come on, man. Wow. Come on.
Well, they great start the XFL.
Right.
The XFL started off with 8 teams, 4 black coaches, head coaches, 4 white head coaches, which I think is great. Now let's see. I want to see the staffs of the 4 white coaches who they pick as their coordinator. And I want to see the staff of the 4 black coaches, and really just the 4, and then put the staff together, and let's see how diverse at the end of the day it is. Is it going to be the white coaches being diverse or the black coaches?
Right. Because I always say this, like,
I'm a bad man. I'm gonna go with the white coaches.
Right. I'll tell you this, Johnny. I mean, like we talked about this a little bit. Like, good players don't necessarily make good coaches, as you know, because it's a whole different deal. But I'll say this: you're not telling me of the thousands and thousands of African American players throughout history, and particularly even recent history, who play the game and play at a high level, and intelligent guys and students of the game and all that. You're not telling me that when those guys are done, some of those guys can't coach the game. They can't go back and regurgitate what they've learned and done on the field. Right. You're not telling, or some of those guys can't put on a suit and go upstairs and pick players on the board. Some of those guys can. It shouldn't look like it looks right now.
Oh man, when you look at the NFL draft day, it just makes me want to throw up. Every time they show the war room,
right?
I'm looking at, and I know it's some nephews in there, some brother-in-laws, some sister-in-laws. And here's the crazy part about it is, and I'm not going to just say it's the black race. Shit, it's the black man to a degree, because They actually got about 4 or 5 women now that's coaching in the NFL.
Right.
Now that's just that blows my mind. I just gotta say it. That just, I mean, she's coaching running backs, or one is assistant coach to the O-line. I mean, come on, Irv. And I'm nothing against no woman, but y'all ain't even fixed the first problem.
Well, but then, Johnny, it's no different than, that is to me, it's probably no different than hiring some guy that didn't play the game. Giving a guy, let's face it. I mean, they're learning the game from a book, just like some of the guys that didn't play. We're like, well, well, he didn't play, but he was always a great student of the game, blah, 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 right? Well, women can do that too. So I think the problem is that you have a lot.
I buy that. I buy that to a certain degree. I buy that. My picture in those guys too is that they ain't fixed the first problem. But I buy that. You're exactly right. That's a great statement.
But like I told you yesterday when we were talking, one of the biggest problems is you have a lot of people in ownership and major decision-making positions that don't know football. They think they know because they're in the box every Sunday and they watch it and they say, that's my team, or I'm running this team. Then they think they know, but they don't know football. And I don't mean X's and O's.
Right.
Because, we talked about this. Anybody can look at a playbook, learn plays and regurgitate plays and run and shoot or the RPO. Almost anybody can do that. I'm talking about, though, understanding how teams work, putting teams together, dynamics of teams, and why some teams are great and other teams aren't. Generally, to me, and what I've learned, is not generally as much a talent edge as a cohesiveness and an understanding of objectives, and that takes good minds and good coaches and good to put that together.
I say it's about the program, your program. It's about your system. And people wonder why Dallas hadn't won, can't win, and won't ever win until Jerry Jones go be the owner, is because he don't understand exactly what you're saying. He look at all players the same. If the talent, he don't understand that attitudes, personalities, perseverance, determination, authority is all important when you're running a program. Everybody got to understand one thing. The number one thing about a winning program that's a cornerstone is each and everybody in that organization, even the head coach, understand that nobody's bigger than the team.
Right.
And if you can't get that established, hey, you're going to miss every time.
If I'm a team owner and I hire you, the best thing I can do is say, hey, John, listen, this is what I expect from you, okay?
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. If it's win 10 games, okay. If you don't win 10 games the first year, I'm going to fire you. If that's what it is.
Right.
But whatever it is, here's your job.
Right.
Go do your job. I'm going to be back over here out of the way. I own the team. You coach the team. I'm not doing press conferences. I'm not sending down plays to the field. I'm not telling you who to play. But understand, Johnny, when you have all the control of all those decisions, you also hold responsibility for those decisions. So,
well, I kind of learned this from the military. You give a guy a job, and you allow the man to do his job.
There you go. And if you don't, then okay, now Johnny, you know why you're in here now, right? After the season, we talked before the season.
Right.
You said, let me run with it. You ran with it, and you ran it off the road. So I got to make a change, right?
Yeah.
But
all the jobs I've had, and all the championships I've been a part of, or even the ones I've won, and got called in. You know, Irv, our job is one to get hired and one to get fired.
Exactly.
Even if regular people just would understand that, you ain't got to be a terrible person to get let go. No. It could be anything. But for some reason, our people, man, when you get let go, man, they gon', oh man, he did this. Oh man, he just a bad. That's our business.
Because you know what, Johnny, I tell you, the thing unique about coaching is this: whether you're black, white, or whatever, you're going to get fired.
Yeah.
Okay? That is not even a question. Okay. And everybody else, in corporate America, whatever, they understand in corporate America how devastating that is, right?
Right.
When it happens in corporate America.
Right.
When it happens to you as a coach, they think it's some kind of sport. Like,
Right.
oh, they fired him. Oh, they should have fired him. They suck.
Right.
They don't realize you got to go home and tell your wife and your kids, we don't have a job. I don't have a job. We don't have an income. We got to maybe move. We got to take the kids out of school. Can't have an operation. Whatever it is. We don't have insurance anymore. We got to get COVID. Right. Whatever.
And then you got to go into your 401k to keep your above water. And here's the other thing. They think getting a job on the coaching level is so easy. Like, oh, just go get a job over there. Such and such is open.
Do you want to coach in San Francisco? Dude, it don't work.
Yeah. Send your resume. Certainly, your resume will get you a job. No.
Right. No.
It's not
usually, you know how this is. If it's an O-line job, there's 40 people applying for it. Not applying for it, trying to get it, because it's not an application process. It's
right.
40 people trying to call the head coach. Can you call Johnny? Can you call for me? Blah blah blah. And you depending on what kind of relationship, you may do it, may not do it. Blah blah blah.
Let me give you an example. And I know it's a state law, but you got to fill out all this long application in HBCUs. This long application, and before you can put your signature down, they don't name somebody else. Now look. Ain't nobody gonna tell me that and I think Deion Sanders is doing a great job. Ain't no way they gonna tell me that Deion sit down and fill out an application.
Right.
Before I did. And then he come with, or Eddie George.
Well, I tell my wife all the time, if they want to tell Johnny Cole you don't have enough experience, you don't have enough experience. Why? Because that's what we said the reason is, right? If we say you over experienced, well, why? Because that's what we said is. Well, Johnny, I don't like the way you dress. Well, that's the reason why we didn't give you the job. Whatever it is, that's the reason, and that's why I've never, because the times I've been fired, whatever, my wife always says, well.
And that's why you end up like my alma mater. Since I left there in 2010, they've won right about 32, 33 games,
mm-hmm.
and lost about, they up in the close to 100 losses.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get rid of a championship coach.
Well, again, you've got to, the real successful programs, college, pro, whatever, understand that ultimately it's about people, and it takes time to build championships.
Yes.
Championship type teams and mentality. That doesn't mean you're going to win one every year. That doesn't mean you're not going to go forward and whatever. But it just means that
you understand how hard it is.
Yeah, but you're going to have the resilience and the fortitude to come back from a 4-10. You're not going to have 2 in a row.
Right.
And that kind of continuity. If you look at whether it's all the powerhouses in college, all the continually successful pro teams, what they have continuity. They have continuity in players. You can't name me a dominant pro team that had consistency at their main spots, quarterback in particular. Right. Look how long, Tom Brady was in New England, right?
Right.
Same system, same guy, same coaches for the most part, and you go through every team and, Colts had Peyton Manning forever, right? Denver had Elway forever. You're not going to have a new franchise quarterback every 3 or 4 years and be a championship team. Yeah. Or players around him,
Real quick, Earl, I want to holler at one of the old players, Marvin Jones, or I should say Dr. Marvin Jones, played with us back at Tennessee State. And that's the great thing about coaching, when you see those guys' lives that you touched. And that brings me to the college realm. 90% of athletic directors are white in all levels.
Right.
94% of head coaches in baseball are white, where there's 84% of football coaches that are white. You don't have that many black coordinators. Now I think we're down to 5 or 10 black coaches. I get my numbers straightened out. When you see that, when I tell you that, there's an Irv Eatman, coached in the pros, played in the pros, very articulate. I mean, you got enough credentials to be a head coach on a college level. Have you ever applied?
No, because like you said, you know this. It's sort of like, I guess it's sort of like becoming president. You don't pick them, they pick you, right?
Wow.
And
Wow.
and
Wow.
and so if nobody's calling you saying, "Hey, what do you think? Would you be interested?" You can write down all you want. I did this, I did that. Johnny
Right.
Cole recommended me. Doesn't matter, right?
Right.
But if they see you that way, well, yeah, but Irv's never been a head coach. They don't care. Why? Because it doesn't matter anymore, right? But if they don't want to give you that job, all of a sudden, well, you've never been a head coach before, so.
And Irv, and that's why I hear, man, because I know Irv Eatman. I know him from a youngster to a man, and I know a whole bunch of other guys, man, and just that thinking, that thinking, and look, that's why I'm here today. That's why I talk on this show, about
great show too.
That tell our counterparts, white coaches or white people, just period. We don't want to take away from none you guys done. I know you guys have bust your butt. I know you guys have had down times. We don't want to take away none of that. I don't. And I know coaches. I know white coaches I've coached with that work their butt off. But the opportunity was different. You got more opportunities than we did. You walk through this United States with a different mindset. You got an Irv Eatman with several years. You got a Johnnie Cole here. Together, I know we got close to 100 years of coaching and success. Mm-hmm. Let's get that straight.
Well, John, look.
But our mindsets is almost like you got a glass ceiling,
right?
And we're talking now for our children,
right? Because this, John. I mean, it's just like you see some of these young cats. Oh, he's the youngest head coach. He's youngest coordinator, whatever. And I don't need to look at the TV to know what I'm going to see, right? If I can have my eyes closed and listen to you talk about this guy. Oh, he's 32 years old. He coached 1 year at the University of Miami. Now he's the head coach of the what?
Yeah.
Do I think I'm going to see a guy that looks like Johnnie Cole? No, I know what I'm going to see when I uncover my eye. Now, I'm not saying. So what I'm saying to you is, like, it has to be a situation where, like you said, look at the NBA.
Yeah.
They have 15 black head coaches and they have 30 teams, right? And they don't have to go around and have mandates and all this. No, they just say, look, there's a lot of people that could coach these teams, right?
Right.
Just have a real conversation, an honest conversation with some of the black candidates.
Yeah, it's 24% of head coaches in the NBA is black. That's still too low. When you get when the team is over 75%.
Right. But still, like, okay, you say, okay, well, but they're getting the interviews. Some of them are general managers, you got one black owner, and I guess when LeBron's done, you're gonna have another one, right? Because he says he wants to own a team. So, but at least they're getting the conversations and they're getting the interviews.
Right.
And then you have an opportunity if your white general manager go, Johnnie Cole just showed me something, Even if you call it bias, you call it ignorance, you call it whatever you want to call it. Well, Johnnie Cole just enlightened me. I'm not gonna hire him this time, but you know what? I'm gonna get on the phone. I'm gonna call my boy over at Utah and say, "Hey, Johnnie Cole, you might want to talk to him." So it's gonna have to be more of that for sure.
Yeah. The face has got to change. When Prime was saying, well, the NFL is not drafting no black players. And to me, it ain't all about talent. It's all about the faces who's making those decisions. When you're looking in them war rooms and you're seeing all these, and all they be in there talking about is numbers. Where's Cav is diameter of 54, and and I know Irv, and you been a big guy. I know you don't ran against some guys say, oh man, I'm gonna kill this little guy, and he gave you fits all day.
Right. I'll tell you a funny story, Johnny. It was in the combine one year. Actually, I'm sorry. Yeah, the combine, and we were having, how they come in, and they talk. You bring the players in, and you interview them whatever. So we got the whole staff in the room. And so this kid comes in, I'm not going to call his name, but he was a kid, and he played at South Carolina. The kid was graduating on time, not 1, but 2 degrees, right? So he comes in, and we talk to him, and, kid, presented himself very well, I thought. So he left. And do you know what they said when he was done? Somebody said, yeah, he said he's, he's a good size, good speed, good strength. I don't know how well he learns.
Wow.
And I literally said, wait a minute, hold up, wait a minute. This kid came in here, he's graduating early with 2 degrees, and you question whether he can learn football? Come on, man. I mean, it's crazy. But these are the people that decide God's future. That kid ended up playing a long time for somebody else and all that. But they always want to interject. Jen, I can promise you, I can turn on TV and hear somebody say, hey, Bob, this guy, he's got a lot of gumption. He's really smart. He understands the entire offense. He's really, really a smart guy. He's like a coach on the field. I know 100% that guy's white. They're talking about a white guy.
Yeah. Irv, tell me this, man. Let's look at some solutions. What the NFL is making one coach on the all hard, one minority coach on offense. I mean, what can we do? You know what I mean? I know, and I'm gonna let you. I know that there's state schools. We pay state taxes. There's federal money to go to some of these schools. We can't get a mandate or a Rooney Rule on the college level. I ain't talking about the pros, because they're individually owned. Hell, we can't get a Rooney Rule on the college level. Well, I mean, you got my man at Stanford. Shit, his staff damn near all white.
Well, you know what, Johnny? I personally, I'm just going to tell you straight. I think the spirit of that rule is very positive. In reality, I don't think it's helpful, and I'm going to tell you why. Oh
no, it hasn't. But go ahead.
I'm going to tell you why. It's not helpful because, and this is America, and I live in Texas. When you mandate something, what do people do? They want to do the opposite, right?
Yeah.
When you mandate something, I just think you gotta make more players. The internships, they help. You got to make more coaches accessible to these people that are making the decisions, right? And so they can see their work ethic, so they can see their knowledge, so they can see their personality, so they can see them interact with the players. That type.
I did 4 of those. I guess my personality didn't match.
Yeah. Well, no, that's just one layer. But that's just one. Yeah,
layer. I did 4. You right. And I think they need to make a conscious effort at those PWI schools of going down and be more diverse, especially in the HBCU level, and bringing those guys up as analysts and things like that. And then we, as Blacks, need to be a lot more patient and a lot more keep your eyes on the goal, meaning people make mistakes. Everybody make mistakes. Right. Let's focus on what he's good at and how those people can help us.
Right. Positive change is always much slower. It's much more difficult to change something in a positive way, which, because particularly when not everybody wants that change. You know what I'm saying? It's one thing if everybody wants the same change, but some people are fine with the status quo. Like, I'm good. So I mean, so you got to get more people that are willing to accept and be part of that change. That's why it's so slow, because you got one group of people saying, "Hey, look, I'm good. I don't see a problem."
Right. Yeah. I was talking. Real quick. I met with a guy named Dean Dalton, coached at the Vikings. He's a part of the National Alumni Association, NFL Alumni Association, and he has a diverse program with the NFL. And we were meeting, and one of his guys kept on saying, "I don't see color. I don't see color. I know where his heart was. I think he was truly honest about he don't care who he coached." But I had to make him understand that's the problem. It ain't necessarily more about racism, but it's necessarily more about unfairness. that
Right.
there's a group of
Right.
people that's not getting their just due.
Right.
And I had to seem to say, sir, you got to see color.
Right.
You got to see it. That's our problem. You
Right.
know,
Well,
and you know, as blacks, that was one of our biggest issues are, first, you got to admit that there's an issue. You know,
Right.
there was a lack of disparity in the way we came to America and how we've been treated in America. Nothing against you, nothing against that you
Right.
didn't earn your stripes.
Right.
You never even gave us a paintbrush to
Right.
even paint a stripe.
Right. And
That's all we ask.
Yeah, and don't say, when people say, don't say you don't see my, yeah, you do. First of all, you do. And I want you to. I just don't want you to use it against me. I don't mind if you see it. I'm proud of it. I wear it, I wouldn't change it. Just don't use it against me. Don't look at it as a liability. And that's the difference. That's what when they said I don't see it. I don't want you to not see it.
Right.
It's me. It's to me to my soul. I just don't want you to use it as a hammer against me, And that's all people are asking, I think.
Right. No, that's true. That's the thing. We don't want to talk about it. It's some guys that I've asked to be on the show. They tell me, yeah, but when I call them, they don't answer the phone no more. Man, we ain't talking about racism. We talking about unfairness. We talking about awareness. We talking about economics.
Right. And Johnny, when people say, again, I live in South Texas, right? So and I was born in South. I was born in Alabama, actually. So
yeah, I know Birmingham.
Right, and it's not geographical, but it travels. It travels. So, but my thing is, when people say they don't understand, I say, okay, well, how about this? Forget the racial aspect of it. How about this? Flip the script and ask me if you think it's fair. If you were, if you're being treated the same way we're asking you not to treat us.
Right.
Forget whether it was racial or height or weight or whatever, but you were treated that way because of something other than your ability. Would you think that was fair? And if they could honestly still say, yeah, that's fair, then they would be lying, of course. But, that's what I'm saying. So when people say they don't understand, they don't get it, you do get it. Yeah, you do, because you wouldn't want it done to you. It's no different. Like you or your kid will ever get pulled over for driving while black, all right? Well, nobody should be harassed that way.
Right.
Don't take the race out of it. Nobody should be stopped for no reason. Nobody should have a gun drawn on them for no reason.
Yeah. Now let me change real quick then. So then when we are in charge and we have the lever, then why do we always got to make the change? Now, like I was telling you about HBCUs is now we're hiring more white coaches. When you look at our non-revenue sports, golf, bowling, volleyball, shoot, you got more white guys are coming into the HBCUs,
right?
Putting more people out of business. Right. And now we're feeling, at least I'm feeling, and I've talked to people off the cuff all the time, is that even going to a HBCU school, you want us to go there, but then you don't show us no appreciation and don't feel that our degree is just as good as anybody else's.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a sore spot. When you start looking at these HBCU schools, ain't nobody going to get the president from these HBC schools. Ain't nobody going against the athletic director at these HBCU schools. We getting it at both ends.
Right. And Johnny, the reason HBCUs exist in the first place was because of inequality, right? And I don't know if a lot of people, black or white, understand, like you go back 100 years, maybe more than that for some of these schools, right? Right. And they didn't just come into existence because they wanted to create all black schools, right?
Right.
They came into existence because if you want a higher education, that's your only choice.
If you want a higher education in a job,
right, that's your only choice.
What I mean?
At a certain time, and it wasn't that long ago, you couldn't get into white universities,
And I always say on my show, and I know we're coming to the end and we're going to have to start getting down to the final. How do you hire a guy that only changed, he's on the NASCAR team and all he did was ever change the tire, and then all of a sudden you bring him on the go-kart race, then you put him in the driver's seat?
Right.
What I'm saying is we take a guy from a PWI school that only been the running back coach or the quarterback, and then all of a sudden he could come on a black college level and run everything.
I'll tell you why, Johnny.
That's crazy.
Because honestly, black people have often, through our history, given more credibility to something because we came from, we
was across the track. Oh, he been across the track.
Right. So all of a sudden, well, he must know something. He must have it going on, which is obviously not the truth. But we've always historically done that, and we need to stop doing that.
Right. Well, Irv, man, we come to the end. I'm gonna let you have the grounds. It's some on your heart, some on your mind. We trying to move this thing forward. Your final remarks.
Well, all I want to say is just shout out to you, Johnny, for caring enough about issues to put them out in this forum and try to reach people and try to educate people and try to bring about change in a positive way. And that's why I was more, when you contacted me, that's why I was more excited to be on this, because I think what you're doing is tremendous. I think you should be commended for it. And like I said, I just want to, I want to applaud you, man, because I think it's great.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna forgive you for that one hit when you jumped across the line of scrimmage and outside. You don't remember that? I know you don't remember that.
Oh man, I try to forget something.
Hey, I was only about 130 pounds, man, and you knocked me down. I said, "Ooh, this gonna be a long night here." But my brother was able to get to y'all quarterback and put him out. Put him out of the game. I don't know if you remember that, but it was a great time. But Irv, man, again, thank you, man. You always been a guy that was, again, I can't say, how your smarts and how well you articulate and how well you played the game and you made the game fun.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do.
And I've been following your career forever. But to my followers, the fight and the battle is on. I know we got other issues with the Wade versus Roe case in America that now we're fighting. And I think Biden was the right president. I have to say that because I felt at the time that things needed to slow down. I'm not saying a Republican or a Democrat at that time. We were fighting, bickering, and I think he was the right guy to just slow everything down. You know how you get hard at guys to fix everything, not necessarily fix everything, but just, God say when issues and problems go, be still.
And insurrection and fix elections and
it's
crazy, man.
So sometimes when things go disarray, just be still. But I'm fighting for the African American coach in this world, this industry. I know we got the Black Lives Matter. We got other things that we have to deal with.
It's all connected.
But this is an economical thing as well.
It's all connected.
And
all connected.
We need the same opportunity. That's all. We're not asking you to give us anything, and we're not trying to take away your work and your effort. But we are saying, give us those opportunities.
That's been the same thing for 400 years. Still asking.
Thank you again. Hey, if you ever have a problem, tie a knot at the end of the rope and hold on tight, because ain't nobody bad like you. See you next Monday from 12 to 1.
All right, my brother.
All right, man. Appreciate you.
Take care, John. All right.
Yeah.
Wilkes with what you need to know. Today is Monday, June 27th, 2022. Number 1, the Supreme Court ruling handed down Friday confirmed a leaked document and the worst fears of women's rights supporters had come true. In the Justice Samuel Alito draft released last month, the country was warned that the 49-year-old constitutional ruling, Roe v. Wade, establishing abortion as a federal right in the United States, was on its way out. The protest, while appropriate symbols of anger and fear of pro-choice supporters, it reached a feverish pitch over the past month. There are a number of options, including the power of protesting, joining and supporting organizations, and economic engagement to combat the overturning of Roe v. Wade. The key to the Supreme Court decision is to act now and be strategic in your planning. The time to act is now. Read more in today's newsletter. Number 3, Pfizer announced Saturday that tweaking its COVID-19 vaccine to better target the Omicron variant is safe and works, just days before regulators debate whether to offer Americans updated booster shots this fall. The vaccines currently used in the U.S. still offer strong protection against severe COVID-19 disease and death, especially if people have gotten a booster dose. Now, with Omicron's even more transmissible relatives spreading widely, the FDA is considering ordering a recipe change for the vaccines in hopes that modified boosters could better protect against another COVID-19 surge. Number 4, Everett Jackson, a 21-year-old Louisiana State University basketball player who is black, went missing June 11th while tubing with his white girlfriend, Gracie Colca. According to reports, Jackson, who is from Graceland, Louisiana, traveled to Emmett, Idaho to visit Colca. They went tubing on the Payette River, which was reportedly experiencing high water level surges due to recent heavy rains. Jackson's family traveled to Idaho to search the banks of the river for several days, and Jackson's body was found June 19th by a search volunteer about 2 miles from where the accident occurred. Number 5. Furious about surging prices at the gasoline station and the supermarket, many consumers feel they know just where to cast blame on greedy companies that relentlessly jack up prices and pocket the profits. Responding to that sentiment, the Democrat-led House of Representatives last month passed on a party-line vote, most Democrats for all Republicans against, a bill designed to crack down on alleged price gouging by energy producers. Likewise, last month, Britain announced plans to impose a temporary 25% windfall tax on oil and gas company profits and to funnel the proceeds to financially struggling households. Here's your daily inspiration from Yogi's Jewels. There is a time for everything, a time for war and a time for peace. Join me today live on YouTube and Facebook at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central with Chris Paul, Huggy Lowdown, and Coy Malone, and our friend, attorney extraordinaire C.K. Hoffler, as we discuss today's top headlines and more. Thank you to our What You Need to Know partners, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and the American Heart Association. To subscribe to my free daily newsletter, please visit SibylWilkes.com. Be informed, be empowered.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.